I used to believe the station hallways were harmless. Even during the deep hours of the night, I thought they held only silence. But one night, the silence felt awake. It felt aware of me. I had just finished restocking supplies. The building was unusually still, as if the walls were waiting. I walked the long corridor that led to the ambulance bay. My footsteps echoed softly, then too softly, almost smothered, as if the floor swallowed the sound. At first, I blamed fatigue. Night shifts twist the senses, but the quiet grew heavier with each step. Halfway through the corridor, something shifted behind me, a faint echo, lagging a breath behind my stride. My own step, but late, as if someone walked exactly where I had been. I stopped. The echo stopped too. I breathed slowly, trying to steady myself. The lights above flickered once, then froze in a dull glow. When I stepped forward again, the echo returned, but not as a copy this time. It was softer, careful, like it was learning the rhythm of my feet. I whispered into the empty air. I do not know why. Maybe I hoped my voice would fill the hallway, push back the strange feeling crawling up my spine. The corridor did not answer with words. It answered with timing. A step behind me, not mine, not delayed, perfectly matched, almost playful. I froze again. The air around me tightened. My throat felt dry, as if the building had inhaled. I turned slowly. The corridor stretched behind me, dim and long, nothing there. But the floor seemed subtly disturbed, as if someone unseen had shifted their weight a moment before. I backed away, watching the empty length of hallway. The lights overhead pulsed again, a faint stutter, a faint breath. When I reached the ambulance bay door, I turned the handle. Cold metal, colder than it should have been. Behind me, the hallway exhaled, a sound like a soft step forward, closer than before. I pulled the door open, heart tightening. Inside the bay, the air felt colder still, too cold for a sealed room. As I stepped in, something brushed the threshold, not touching me, just arriving. I held the door, waiting, listening, but the space behind the frame felt crowded, as if the corridor itself had moved up to meet me. I shut the door as quietly as I could. I stood there in the dim bay, hands trembling. That was when I felt it again. Not footsteps this time. Something more deliberate, something that had learned my rhythm and was testing its own. It stepped once on the other side of the door, slow, certain, expectant. The metal under my palm quivered lightly, as if an unseen weight leaned in from the other side, pressing its shape into the world, trying to understand the outline of my fear. I backed away from the door, keeping my eyes locked on the trembling metal. The bay felt enormous and hollow, a cold box with too much open air. My breath clouded faintly as I exhaled. Whatever waited behind that door did not knock, it did not scratch. It simply existed there, pressing a quiet weight against the world. I turned toward the far exit, trying to keep my steps silent, but silence did not help. The thing behind the door responded anyway, a single step, heavier this time, as if it grew bolder the farther I moved, then another, measured, almost curious. I reached the exit and pushed it open. The night outside felt warmer than the bay, but the air carried a strange thickness, a sense of attention. As I stepped into the dark lot, the lights above me flickered downward, each one dimming, as if something passed beneath them, not walking, but gliding low, testing the edges of the space. I moved toward the perimeter gate, hearing faint taps behind me, not footsteps anymore, lighter, sharper, as if the thing was morphing its own movement, trying new ways to follow. I refused to look back. My chest burned with every inhale. When I reached the gate, and pulled it open. The hinges moaned through the stillness. That sound, that thin metallic cry, was the only familiar thing left. I stepped outside, hoping the night air would free me. It did not. Across the empty lot, the lights inside the station began to dim, one after another, as if something walked beneath them, moving slowly toward the bay door I had escaped through. But the door never opened. Nothing emerged. Instead, the hallway behind that door, that long, quiet corridor, seemed to breathe out into the night. A single sigh of cold air slipped across the lot, brushing the ground at my feet. I felt it settle around my ankles, a thin, searching chill, like a hand pressing lightly against my skin. That was when I finally ran. I did not stop until I reached my car. I locked myself inside, hands shaking on the wheel, watching the station building. Nothing moved. No lights flickered now. No echoes followed me. Still, the hallway stayed heavy in my mind, as if it stretched behind my thoughts, continuing its length far beyond the building. That night, I learned something I cannot unlearn. Some spaces do not stay still when they are empty. Some spaces watch, some listen, some follow, slowly, patiently, until they learn your rhythm. And once they do, they are never entirely behind you again. The call came during the deep hours of the shift, when the world feels thin, when even the night seems uneasy. We were sent to a remote roadside turnout, a place where people rarely stop unless they have no choice. When we arrived, the area looked deserted. The trees leaned in on both sides of the asphalt, their branches forming a dark ceiling. Then I saw him, a man standing near the guardrail, thin, still, facing away from us. I called out to him gently. He did not move. My partner approached slowly, but I felt something wrong in the air, a strange tension, like the moment before glass cracks. The man's posture was rigid, his arms hanging at his sides, his head tilted slightly downward. I stepped closer, close enough to notice his clothes were spotless, too clean for someone who had wandered the roadside. I spoke again, asking if he was hurt. His head shifted a fraction, but not toward me. Just a slight tilt, as if something inside him listened while the outside remained fixed. My partner circled to his side, trying to see his face. I felt my stomach tighten, a warning that came from somewhere deeper than instinct. The man leaned back, barely an inch, as if keeping his face hidden were more important than acknowledging our presence. I reached out a hand, hesitantly, ready to guide him to the stretcher. That was when his shadow moved, not him, not his body, just the shadow. It shifted sideways on the ground, stretching the wrong way, as if something under the earth pulled it. I froze. My breath stuttered in my chest. My partner whispered to me, asking if I had seen it. I barely nodded. We both knew we should have left then, but duty does not loosen easily. I stepped behind the man, thinking maybe his face held a clue. Maybe he was injured. Maybe he needed us. But some part of me already knew he would not turn on his own. He had no intention of ever showing us his front. I moved to his side, slowly, reaching for his shoulder. The trees around us creaked softly, leaning closer, as if they too wanted to see what he was hiding. My hand touched fabric, cold and smooth, like clothing left in the freezing air. The moment I made contact, his head twitched again, a rapid, stuttered motion, not natural, not rhythmic. Then his feet shifted, but his upper body remained facing away. He began to pivot, too slowly, as if his body resisted the movement, while something inside forced it. The turn was wrong. Not a rotation, a dragging of the idea of a face toward us. And the shadow beneath him began to flicker, stretch, pulse. Interested, he kept dragging that half-turned posture toward us, as if whatever lived inside him did not understand how bodies were meant to move. I stepped back, my partner stepped back, but the man did not stop. His foot scraped across the asphalt, slow and deliberate. The sound was soft, but it pushed a deep ache into my chest, as though that single step carried weight that did not belong in our world. His shoulders twisted, but only part way. The rest of his form hung behind, as if it were caught between two ideas of what a person should look like. I whispered to him, asking if he needed help, but the words left my throat hollow. His shadow stretched farther, crawling ahead of him, too long, too thin, moving faster than his body did. My partner swore under his breath. He lifted his flashlight. A weak circle of pale light landed on the man's back, and the back seemed to inhale the glow, dimming it, drinking it. Then his head jerked again, a final sharp movement, and slowly, too slowly, his face came into view. But there was no face, just smooth, pale skin, as if someone had erased every feature with a trembling hand. No eyes, no mouth, no marks at all. Just a blank surface, pulled tight over something restless beneath. The skin fluttered once, as though something inside tried to press outward. A faint bulge, a suggestion of shape, then stillness. The blank head turned fully toward us, though nothing on it could see. Yet I felt watched in a way I have never felt watched before. Not by a person, not by an animal, but by intention. A cold pressure filled the air. The trees around us grew silent. Even the night seemed to lean back, as if unwilling to be near him. He stepped toward us, his blank face tilting upward, listening to the world in a way that did not involve ears. Then another step, faster, more certain. My partner reached for him, a reflex, a desperate attempt to contain the scene. But the moment his fingers brushed that smooth skin, the man's entire form convulsed, not violently, quietly. A single ripple through his body, as if someone had thrown a stone into a lake made of human shape. The ripple moved downward, and the figure simply unfolded. His body bent at angles that did not exist, then slipped sideways, as if collapsing into a crack in the air. The shadow on the ground vanished last, stretching thin, thinner, until it snapped out of existence with no sound at all. The space where he had stood felt wrong afterward, emptied in a way that suggested something had been removed from the world, not added to it. We backed away, neither of us speaking. The wind returned, brushing the leaves as if nothing had happened. But the trees still leaned toward that empty spot, watching it, waiting for its shape to return. We left quickly. Neither of us filed the call correctly. Neither of us wanted to explain what we had seen when there was no language for it. Even now, every time I find myself alone on a quiet road, I feel the night, waiting, listening, hoping I will stop again, so it can show me something that is almost a person, but not quite. The last story begins inside the station, during a night so heavy it felt padded, as if sound could not travel normally. I was reorganizing equipment in the supply room, trying to stay awake, trying to convince myself that the building was just a building, nothing more. Then the intercom clicked on, a soft, broken hiss, no call tone, just static. I lifted my head. The hiss shaped itself into a whisper, thin and cold, like breath sliding across metal, but no words formed. Just the outline of speech, without the speech itself. I stepped out of the supply room, peering down the main hallway. The lights were steady, but the air felt drained, as if someone had turned down the temperature of the world. The intercom hissed again, sharper this time, as though something scraped the inside of the speaker grill. I approached the wall panel, leaned in, listened. A faint, rhythmic sound emerged. Not a voice, not a signal, something between breathing and tapping, soft, uneven. Searching, I whispered, a greeting, half expecting nothing, half hoping nothing would answer. The sound stopped instantly. The silence afterward was unbearable. Then, from the far end of the hallway, a light flickered. Just one, a brief dimming, like an eyelid half closing. I walked toward it, each step feeling less like my own. The air grew colder with every meter. My breath turned faintly white. A thin frost gathered on the wall tiles, spreading in delicate branching patterns, like fingers pressing outward from the inside. Halfway down the corridor, the intercom crackled again, but now the sound came from every speaker at once. The whispering rhythm spread across the hallway, rolling toward me in waves, as if something moved through the wiring, sliding behind the walls, following the sound of my thoughts. Another light dimmed, then another, a slow chain of thinning illumination crawling toward me. I reached for the radio at my belt. It was ice cold. The plastic felt brittle, ready to crack. Before I could speak into it, a new sound rose behind the whispering, a low hum. Not electrical, something else, something alive. The lights near me flickered wildly, then steadied, but each bulb now glowed slightly blue, as if lit from beneath the floor. I turned back toward the supply room, and that was when I saw it. A shape forming at the far end of the corridor, thin, unsteady, not stepping, tilting forward in small gliding motions, as though learning the idea of walking. Its outline shimmered, like heat rising, but cold. A cold distortion, warping the space around it. It moved closer, slow at first, then faster, as if the whispering intercom rhythm guided its pace. I stepped back, heart pounding, legs turning weak. Another light dimmed above me. The frost climbed the walls faster, rushing past me, as if the building exhaled winter. The shape approached until I could make out the hollow between its shoulders, the narrow shifting of its limbs, the way its edges never stayed still, blurred by some internal shiver that did not belong to the world. I stumbled toward the exit, barely able to breathe. Every speaker in the station hissed at once, a noise too full of intention to be static. When I reached the door, the hum behind me rose sharply, as if disappointed I was leaving. I pushed outside, falling into the warm night air, as though waking from a freezing dream. Inside the station, the lights blinked once, all together, then went still. No shape followed me out. No frost escaped the threshold. But even now, on quiet nights, when I pass the station alone, the intercom clicks on by itself, a soft hiss spilling into the dark, as if something inside still waits for me to answer. I told myself I would never go back inside alone. Not after that night, not after feeling the building breathe. But the next shift came, and duty pulled me through the doors again. Nothing seemed different at first. The lights were steady, the halls were warm. The intercom was silent, almost too silent. I walked slowly down the main corridor, passing each door as if they might exhale frost the moment I blinked. I reached the supply room and paused in the doorway. Everything was where I had left it. Shelves neat, lights gentle, air normal. But the moment I stepped inside, the faintest hum rose from the vents above me, low, restless, testing the space. I turned toward the door, suddenly certain I was not alone. The hallway outside dimmed slightly, only a soft pulse, barely noticeable, but I felt it. A small tug on the world, like someone inhaling behind a wall. I whispered into the quiet, asking if anyone was there. The intercom clicked on with the tiniest crack of static, the sound almost gentle, almost relieved. Then it went silent again. No words, no rhythm, just waiting. I backed out of the supply room, never turning my back on the corridor. Every step I took felt watched, felt measured, as if the same presence that had followed me the night before now traced my movements from inside the wiring, inside the vents, inside the breath of the building itself. I reached the exit door, pressed my palm against the crash bar, and hesitated. The station lights flickered once more, just once, almost like a farewell, almost like a question. I stepped outside, letting the night close behind me. The intercom clicked one last time, its faint whisper seeping beneath the doorframe, a thin, unfinished sound drifting into the warm darkness, a sound that felt like, not yet. And some nights, long after the shift ends, long after I have gone home, I swear I hear that same soft click echo through the back of my mind, as though the station still calls my name, quietly, waiting for me to return, so it can show me what it was trying to become in the cold.